All right, welcome everybody. Sean and Eric from RPH Allied. Today we're talking about a heavy topic. What happens when you get a DUI? So we'll be right back after I hit the reel. All right, Eric. What happens? What happens, Eric? Thanks for joining today, bud. What happens if you get a DUI?
Yeah, nothing good. Let me say that. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this topic because it's a question that I've been asked. One person was a pharmacist who actually got in trouble for a DUI. And then it's another question that's been asked to me just kind of in general because people don't know, like, are you going to like automatically lose your license? What's going to happen? Before we jump into it, just so all the viewers know, I am not a attorney, a legal professional. So none of this is like legal advice. This is just coming from my experience, personal experience, as well as, what I've seen from knowing a lot of other pharmacists and healthcare professionals who get a DUI or something similar. So if you do happen to get arrested for a DUI, the first thing you should do is contact an attorney and get their advice. Yeah, first thing you should do, no matter what. You'll not only need it for your pharmacist license, but you'll need it for some, all the other legal stuff too. So in my experience, in my life, I've seen pharmacists get DUIs, and 3 different things have happened. So I want to go through those really quick. I was contacted by a pharmacist, and this is the best case scenario. It's probably never going to happen to anybody else, but happened to this pharmacist, where he actually got in a car accident. He was taken into custody for a DUI. They had his car towed. They put him in the back of the car. They took him down to the station. They released him the next day, which is generally what happens no matter what. So he contacted me freaking out, like, what do I do? What do I do? And he didn't have to end up doing anything. And I don't know how this happened, but he was never actually arrested. Charges were never filed. He was simply detained. This pharmacist was detained, taken out of the station, released the next day. So there's no record anywhere of a DUI. I don't know how this person got so lucky. But I can't imagine that ever happening again. I don't know why they did it that way. So that's a possibility. The second thing that can happen is what I know this happened to a pharmacist, which is very similar to the first one, but there's a key difference. So this pharmacist was arrested for DUI, taken out of the station, but he wasn't just detained, he was actually arrested. And what they did is, when you get arrested, one of the first things they do is they take your fingerprints. They log you into the system. I think when everybody goes to get a pharmacist license, they need to go through the live scan process, where you do your fingerprints, they do a record of it. They search the fingerprint, the live scan database to see if there's any other history in there for anything else. But when you're arrested for DUI, what's going to happen? They're going to take you down to the station. They're likely going to run you. They're going to get your fingerprints. They're going to put you in the live scan system. Okay. And that gives a record of the arrest, and it's going to say what the arresting charges were. All right. This pharmacist, that's what happened to him. He was released the next day, got an attorney. The attorney was waiting for the files to be charged at the DA's office, and wasn't going to do anything until he saw those charges being filed. And charges were never filed. Apparently, it was a clerical error. And so this person never got charged with a DUI. They never lost their license. They never had to go through any of the other classes or things that you need to go through when you get a DUI. However, the Board of Pharmacy still found out about it. Why? Because he was in the system from his live scan. So they basically looked at it like, hey, we don't care if you got charged or not. I mean, I think it mattered a little bit actually, but they were like, you were still doing what you weren't supposed to be doing. You were acting unprofessional. You were acting in a dangerous manner. You were using alcohol in a dangerous manner. And so they came after him. It was probably not quite as bad because there were no charges. And I'm sure the attorney used that to say like, hey, I don't know. They probably use that to his benefit. But most of the time, what's going to happen, right? If you're arrested for DUI, which is a stupid idea, guys. I know drinking it's legal, it's socially acceptable. A lot of times it's even socially encouraged in certain cases. You're at a party or something. So there's a lot of people and a lot of pharmacists, of course, consume alcohol, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, oftentimes when we're consuming alcohol, we're not doing it at home. We're out and about. Well, how did we get there? It's like, well, we drove. How are we going to get back? We're going to drive back. And so sometimes people find themselves in the situation where they drank a little too much. They need to get home. Easiest thing to do is drive. So they hop in their car, whatever, these happens all the time. If you could ever avoid that, definitely do it. I mean, get an Uber or get a ride home with a friend or sleep there. It's much better than what's going to happen if, you do drive intoxicated and get pulled over or get in an accident. Something even worse happens. But generally what happens, you get arrested for DUI. They're going to take you down to the station, do your fingerprints. You get released the next day, which is good. They're going to file charges. So basically, you're going to have to go in front of a judge. You're going to have to plead your case. And then you're going to most likely get found guilty of driving under the influence. And then you're going to have to go through a whole bunch of this normal DUI consequences, right? You're going to lose your license for a little bit, do some jail time or community service type work. But I don't want to get into all that. What I want to talk about is the pharmacy license side. So the first thing, like I said at the beginning, if this happens, as soon as you get your release the next day, get on the phone with an attorney. Let them know what happened. They're going to be able to provide you the best guidance on how to handle that situation with the Board of Pharmacy. There are a lot of people who something like this happens to, and they get their criminal attorney to handle the DUI part, but they don't get a pharmacy license attorney. You're gonna need both. If you don't get a pharmacy license attorney and you just pretend like it never happened, the Board of Pharmacy is going to find out about it, and they're going to come knocking, and it's going to look worse than if you were to get an attorney up front and have the attorney kind of work on the best strategy of how to work with the Board of Pharmacy with this. It looks a lot better, and you're more likely to have a better outcome when it comes to your pharmacist license. I should also mention, if you get a DUI and you're a pharmacist, stay calm, don't freak out. I've never seen this lead to revocation of your pharmacist license. You may get it taken away temporarily for a short period of time until you can get into something like the pharmacist recovery program and prove that you are, getting everything back on track. But you're not going to lose it forever. I should mention, though, even if they take it away just temporarily, say 90 days, 6 months or something like that, there's a good chance you're going to lose your job, right? I could see that happening. But again, that's all relatively short term. Long term, you're going to be okay. So let me get back on track. I kind of went on a tangent there from what I was originally thinking. Oh yeah, so the first thing, get an attorney. They'll come up with the best strategy for how to work with the Board of Pharmacy to make the consequences as less severe as possible. The other things I would recommend is immediately start going to AA meetings. Because the Board of Pharmacy is going to look at it like this. If you're drinking and driving, you probably have a drinking problem. That's what they're going to assume. Going to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, looks good, and it is good for you to do that, because if you are drinking and driving, you probably have a little bit of a drinking problem. And I always tell people, if you think you may have a drinking problem, you do. People who don't have a drinking problem don't think that. So if you think you have a drinking problem, you do. I'll tell you that right now. But start going to AA meetings. You can print out some attendance sheets, put your name on there, and you go and you get the signatures and you put the location, you put the date and the time and all that good stuff. And if you get an attorney, they're probably going to recommend this as well. But these are things I would start doing immediately. I would, if you need to check yourself into a rehabilitation center, like even an outpatient treatment program, I would look into that, and the attorney may suggest that as well. But that's going to show that you are taking this seriously and you are determined to, not have alcohol be a problem in your life. Another thing I would recommend is, as soon as possible, get a urine drug screen and possibly even a hair analysis drug screen. Because what you can do is, because they're not going to do, well, I guess they likely would do a urine or a blood check, but I would even do it at the police station. But I would even take it a step further and go get your own independent one done. You can do the hair that goes back, I think it goes back like 90 days or 60 or 6 months, to show them that there's nothing else going on. And then do that periodically. You can go down to these, they have these testing centers all over. I know when I was driving to work, I drive by one every day on the corner. You can go in there and you can say, hey, I want to get signed up for random monthly or weekly urine drug screening. And they will put you on a random program, and, they'll call you randomly and you go in and you get tested. What you can do is you can take all those negative results with you when it comes time to meet with the board of pharmacy with your attorney. And you're going to say, hey, look, this guy has not had, because they test for alcohol and that, of course, too, has had no alcohol in his system. We can prove that, basically argue that you don't have a drinking problem. You can stop. And not only that, but you're doing all these other things. Like, you went to an outpatient facility, you're going to 12-step meetings, you're doing everything you can because you recognize you may have this problem and you're taking it seriously. That's going to be your best chance for when you do have that meeting with the board of pharmacy, that they're going to let you off the hook a little bit easier. I always think there's going to be some type of probationary program that the board of pharmacy is going to put you in. But I have heard of people who kind of just get a slap on the wrist. It's nothing that's public record. It is just something kind of noted from the board of pharmacy. So if it ever happens again, they'll have that record there, but there will be no action on your license. I knew a physical therapist who that's very similar to what happened to her. And she got in trouble with the physical therapy board and first got put into their program, but then the attorney was able to do some magic or something and actually get her out of it. So the best thing you want to do is, like, everything you can, everything I said, because there's a lot riding on this, like loss of your job, loss of your livelihood. And once the board of pharmacy has you in their program, they have you for good, and being like administrative law, I mean, you have certain rights, as a pharmacist, but, like having a pharmacist license, it's not a right, it's a privilege. And so you're really at the mercy of the board of pharmacy when it comes to what those consequences are going to be. So it's in your best interest to show them from the get-go that you are somebody who is not a threat to society. You're not going to be endangering patients. And the more you can prove that, the better off you're going to be. Yeah.
Amazing advice, Eric. Thank you for pointing out that was not legal advice. That was, that was peer support advice, and we are here for you. Eric is here for you. If you have any questions, you want to hit up Eric, make sure you join the peer support channel on RPH Ally at rphally.com. Eric, this is a heavy one. I think the one thing I also want to add to that is you actually said it, but I want to make sure people know you need an administrative law attorney that's that works with pharmacy and that has board of pharmacy experience, right? There is a difference between a pharmacist lawyer that works on cases that has did like dispensing errors and things like that, and then there's like administrative law attorneys that anyways, that's a whole nother topic in itself. Maybe we can talk about that one day. But
if you're a pharmacist and anything like that happens to you, it's like you're gonna freak out. All the pharmacists that I've talked to, they feel like their career's over, their life's over. The best thing you do is stay calm and then reach out to other pharmacists. And there's quite a few of us out there who know a lot about this stuff, to answer all of your questions, because you're gonna have a lot of questions about what's next, what to expect. And so to have a support network where you have people to reach out to about these kind of things is going to be really helpful, even just for your own emotional well-being, just for yourself, like not even regarding your pharmacist license, but just for you. So definitely, join RPH Ally, start making those connections with pharmacists who have been through everything. There's hundreds, or I don't know, over 1,000 pharmacists there now probably on RPH Ally. And start those conversations, start building those relationships, and it's important. It can be really important if something like this happens.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Eric, for your time. Awesome advice.